The rules of the Senate are designed to make sure that the minority party is able to exert some influence, regardless of which party is in charge. It's called the filibuster. It dates back to the early years of Congress. It's part of the American system of checks and balances. But frustrated by his inability to pass any major legislation in Congress, President Trump is now starting to talk about changing those rules, as he threatened during the campaign.
The rules of the Senate and some of the things you have to go through, it's really a bad thing for the country, in my opinion. They are archaic rules, and maybe at some point we're going to have to take those rules on.
Taking those rules on. The White House is also now acknowledging that it has spent time and your tax dollars trying to figure out a way to change the modern legal interpretation of the First Amendment to the Constitution's guarantee of freedom of the press. James Madison be damned. White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus was recently asked if the president would really want to pursue a change in libel laws, as he threatened during the campaign.
I think it's something that we've looked at, and how that gets executed or whether that goes anywhere is a different story.
This desire to change the constitutional systems we have in place to protect the nation from any theoretical would-be dictator comes at a time when President Trump has shown unusual actual outreach to a number of actual dictators, such as, for instance, North Korea's Kim Jong-un.
At a very young age, he was able to assume power. A lot of people, I'm sure, tried to take that power away, whether it was his uncle or anybody else. And he was able to do it. So obviously, he's a pretty smart cookie.
Kim Jong-un had his uncle murdered. That does not make Kim Jong-un a smart cookie. That makes him a murderer. The president told Bloomberg News today he would be, quote, honored to meet with Kim. And Kim Jong-un is not the only brutal dictator the president has reached out to over the weekend. The White House says that President Trump had a, quote, very friendly conversation with the president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, who, according to Amnesty International, has engaged in rampant crimes against humanity with extrajudicial killings of at least 7,000 Filipino citizens by the police. Duterte has personally bragged about committing some of these murders himself and has said that some journalists should be assassinated. President Trump invited Duterte to the White House. Now, this is all of a piece. The president also recently called Turkish President Erdogan to congratulate him on his recent power grab. He said kind words for Vladimir Putin, for the Chinese despots who perpetrated the Tiananmen Square massacre. He called them strong. He said Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi were bad guys, but that Iraq and Libya were in much better shape during their despotic regimes. Equating brutality and despotism with leadership, that's not an American value. Ronald Reagan once noted how our Declaration of Independence, especially the notion that each and every individual is endowed by our Creator with a certain unalienable rights, that's a beacon to the world. Reagan said, quote, our creed as Americans is that these rights, these human rights, are the property of every man, woman, and child on this planet, and that a violation of human rights anywhere is the business of free people everywhere, unquote. Whatever happened to that?